Imagine there's no Beatles. It's very hard to do. Unless you see Yesterday, a musical fairy tale directed by Trainspotting and Slumdog Millionaire director Danny Boyle, and written by Four Weddings and a Funeral and Notting Hill screenwriter Richard Curtis.
John, Paul, George and Ringo, the Beatles. No. Stop it. Yesterday. It's one of the greatest songs ever written.
Well, it's not Coldplay. It's not Fix You.
It's a modern love story, set now, but it concerns a singer-songwriter who's not very successful, a guy called Jack Malik. And he wakes up one day having been hit by a bus. He's on his bicycle and he gets hit by a bus, so this is very appropriate. And when he wakes up in hospital, everybody has forgotten the Beatles. Everybody. Nobody remembers their songs. There's nothing on Google about them or their songs. There's no vinyl. There's no CDs. There's nothing streaming. Nothing. But he remembers the songs, and he begins to play them as though they are his own new songs. And people begin to go, "Wow, you're a genius." What he is unaware of is that the real love story of his life is not his relationship with the Beatles. It's the relationship with this woman, played by Lily James.
Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. There's a shadow hanging over me. Oh, yesterday came suddenly. Why she had to go, I don't know, she wouldn't say. I said something wrong, now I long for yesterday.
Danny, you grew up during Beatles mania. What do you think the world would be like if the Beatles never existed?
Whoa, it's such a massive question. Their influence, seriously, their influence is not just in pop culture. I mean, it's across all culture, I think. These four guys began this pop cultural movement that we still live through now. And they said, we're no longer going to serve in your army. We're no longer going to do the jobs you tell us to do. We're going to learn to express ourselves, to value love above all else, and encourage cultural expression always. And that movement spread around the world, and it's the value of youth. And I think if they didn't exist, and if nobody else existed like them, like the Rolling Stones, which do in our story, but then the world would be a very different place. We'd probably be at war with each other in Europe, because we did that for 50 years in the first half of the century. And then these four guys from Liverpool came along and it changed the whole world, I think.
Did you get in touch with the surviving members?
We wrote to Paul about the title, because we wanted to call it, obviously, Yesterday, which is, he doesn't own the word yesterday, obviously. But given this was a film about the Beatles disappearing and we're calling it Yesterday, and it's his most famous song in a way, we wrote to him saying, do you mind, out of courtesy, do you mind if we call it Yesterday? And he was very funny. He said the original title of Yesterday was Scrambled Eggs. Would you consider that as a title instead? But he said, of course. He'd seen he saw the trailer, liked the trailer, had read the script, and then we sent the finished film to them all, and we got a beautiful letter back from Ringo, and one from Olivia, who's George's widow, and beautiful letters.
Hi, we should talk. See, we pay and you write songs, and then you make a ton of money. And then we take most of it.
You've called Richard Curtis the poet laureate of romance and comedy.
Yes, well, Britain's poet laureate of romance and comedy, yeah.
Tell us more about that.
It was wonderful to work with somebody who spent his whole career in a kind of corridor of expression, and that is romantic comedy. And that's where he's always been, crafting it. And it looks, or it should, look effortless, but it isn't. You have to work and work and work at it. So it was wonderful for me to be able to, because I'm normally known for other kinds of films, but it was wonderful for me to drop into that corridor of romance and comedy and live in there with him for a while.
I love the lovely bus and the attention to detail. I'm going to hire the prop person for the next film I do. Look at this. There's a table in the shape of a record.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me.
Sorry, I'm just listening to Jack's new song.
What's this one called?
Leave it be.
Let it be. Well, rock on, Jack.
Oh yeah.
Tell us why you decided, out of everything that you could take away from the world, you decided on the Beatles.
Well, because it'd be the worst thing to take away from the world. I'm trying to imagine. It's impossible to sort of imagine my life without the Beatles. I think I would have been a lot more gloomy, and I suspect I also wouldn't have written all the stuff I've written, which feels to me to be fundamentally inspired by their sort of desire to talk about love and make you happy.
So tell us how the Beatles inspired your work.
Well, just generally, I think they have. I mean, they really were infused into my youth. I was the perfect age. And so when I started writing, I think I chose the subject of love, which was their big subject. And yet they always made you happy. I'd be really interested. And they're like the perfect quintessence of friendship. So I think friendship, love, and a kind of joy, even when you're singing a sad song, I think I've always been aspiring to be in the foothills of that achievement.
I've been waiting half my life for you to wake up and love me. But I'm a school teacher and you are the world's greatest singer-songwriter.
I'm not.
Except for you are.
It's going to be the greatest album of all time.
And Himesh Patel plays this lovable, hopeless, rubbish type character.
Yes.
Very classic in your films. Why do you like these characters? And they're always surrounded by this sort of cast of good mates.
I'm going to blame it on Charles Dickens. If you look at sort of, there is a kind of tradition where there's a central person and then things happen to him. So Oliver Twist and David Copperfield, they're kind of in the middle. And also I think I must feel as though I want people to feel they could be that person in the middle, which they wouldn't really think they could be Rocky or Kate McKinnon or any of the weirder characters. So I think it's a kind of everyman idea.
Now, you're the screenwriter of many of our favourite romantic comedies over the years, including Four Weddings and a Funeral, Notting Hill, Love Actually, Bridget Jones's Diary, so many.
Feeling old now.
Do you think it's still as easy to get rom-coms made as it used to be?
I don't know. I mean, I think that, you know, when I wrote Four Weddings, I didn't know it was a rom-com. I thought it was a sort of autobiographical film with a bit of love in the middle. My instinct is that if the person who's making the movie is really interested in that subject and is interested in love and has got something a little bit new to say about it, with any luck, people will make it. There's some great stuff on TV about love as well, though. If you look at, as it were, Love and Fleabag and Mum, these are all shows about love too. So I don't think it's ever going to go away as a subject.
Over the years, you've done so much as well as your career, like writing all these incredible films. You've also raised a lot of money for charity at home and abroad. We are living in tricky times. Well, do you agree with that? What do you think of the moment we're living in now?
Well, I think we're living in complicated times, but I think complicated times inspire the sort of counter-reaction. So I've got a daughter who is the most passionate and positive activist I've ever met on all issues to do with diversity and gender and all these issues. And then there's these amazing, my son was on strike last Friday about climate. So I'm hoping that, in fact, and I'm an advocate for the UN's new global goals. So I'm hoping that, you know, that to everything, to every action, there's a reaction. And I'm hoping the reaction's going to be an amazing decade.
And if you could erase anything from history, what would it be?
Oh, gosh. I think probably the one and only performance of a band that I've ever been part of. We formed a school band called Versus, and we played I'll Follow the Sun by the Beatles, and we were pretty well booed off the stage.
This was my last gig. If it has happened by now, it's like a miracle.
Miracles happen.
And do you have a favourite Beatles song?
Probably Day in the Life, because that's what's extraordinary about these two songwriters, and obviously George is a wonderful songwriter as well, and Ringo an occasional one as well, was that in that song, in Day in the Life, they just go John, Paul, and they're so different, and yet the alchemy between them clearly creates a unity that gave us 3 or 4 masterpiece albums, really.
We would like you to write something right now.
Something in the way she moves
No one's ever written this many great songs. How do you do it?
attracts me like no other lover.
I think now might be a good time to ask you to sing me a Beatles song.
I can't. When I get older, losing my hair, many years from now, will you still be sending me a Valentine? Something around that bottle of wine. You see, there is a problem. It's very hard to remember the lyrics.
Richard Curtis, thank you.
Not at all.
Thank you.
That was a real pleasure.
There's something you should know.
Please make some noise for Mr. Jack Mallet.
Let me just give you this advice. Song title, Hey Dude.